touchdown.
The route, and Randy Moss, without even really being able to run, as he shoots the moon to the
pass, pumps to the left, 8 seconds left. He gets away from the pressure, fires to the end zone. It's caught! It's Greg Lewis! Oh my heavens! Greg Lewis's first catch has given the Minnesota.
Four, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey, what's up, Minnesota Vikings fans? Welcome into another episode of House Calls brought to you by Minnesota Sports Talk. I am the Skull Doc. Dave joining me as always, and we got some news to cover. Hey, Dave, they extended our forever coach, my dude.
Who's that? Who's my forever coach? I don't know. KOC, man. What a good timing. Sorry, Florio. I mean, apparently you were really wanting to cause a controversy, and there wasn't one ever. He was our coach. We all knew he was going to be our coach. I hate people who try to just get engagement by making shit up. Thank you, Florio. Anyways, I won't get tired of cracking on you, but that's our man. That's our man, Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, it was never in question that entire Jay Glazer report that other teams are interested in trading for Kevin O'Connell. Well, no shit, because he's a great coach.
Water is wet news.
Yeah, there's a great coach. And they had discussions on Score North with Phil Mackey about, like, what is his price point where you would say yes to a deal for Kevin O'Connell? And it was like 5 first-round picks. I mean, he's just invaluable. You know, you can't even trade. You can only trade up to 3 years ahead. So it's like there's no deal that would get done for Kevin O'Connell. But what a great decision. It was never a controversy because we have great owners. I don't think people really bitch about our owners a whole lot because what is there to complain about? They brought us a stadium. They kept the team in Minnesota. They consistently shell out cash. You know, they have cash-rich deals. They are not cheap by any means. They're excellent owners, and they were going to get this done. So I wasn't worried at all about it. And it's just a sigh of relief that it's done. We don't have to worry about this going into the next chapter of the offseason. And that's exciting, man. So your thoughts on Kevin O'Connell staying here and this deal getting done at the same, basically a day after Ben Johnson is hired in Chicago. I mean, talk about just a division full of great coaches.
And I think what a contrast in personalities too. People are on Twitter saying he's giving Adam Gase vibes as far as Ben Johnson. I don't know about that. Gase was a little squirrely, but I don't think he's as bad as that. But as far as outspoken leadership, Pied Piper of men, I think we got the better deal out of anybody. Well, I mean, obviously Dan Campbell's kind of that way too, but I think Kevin has the acumen behind it, the chops. Our offense is always going to be good because I'm the offensive mind behind it. And when I think Campbell's more of a getting everybody together, getting everybody uplifted, and then as OC and as DC do the work. That's not the case in Minnesota. Offense starts and stops with Kevin O'Connell, and he makes people better. You know, so he does it all. So I think there's going to be that's where he sets himself apart against the rest of the division or the league in that matter, as far as I'm concerned.
I completely agree. There was a bad taste in our mouth, obviously, with the way that the season ended. But you got to remember, this team won 14 games with Sam Darnold. We went on a 5-game winning streak to start the season when there was shows out there picking the Vikings to start 0-5, 0-6. You know, we've seen that montage of those people picking the games going into the season.
It's embarrassing for them.
And then we dropped 2 in a row, 2 Lions out there against the Rams. And then we went on an 8-game win streak, and we won 14 games this year with Sam Darnold, the Reclamation Project. And Kevin O'Connell was able to restore the wins at home. That was a big deal this year, winning in Minnesota. And he's just a great coach. Now, he's not perfect, right? But if you look around the league, who is perfect, right? You got Andy Reid with Patrick Mahomes, and I really like what Sean McDermott's doing in Buffalo with Josh Allen. A lot of the guys who are left in the playoffs, they have outstanding quarterbacks, right? But, I mean, Kevin O'Connell is just really outkicking his coverage in terms of the way that he manages one-score games. His record in one-score games speaks for itself, and that's not luck. That's just a great coach going out there and winning you some football games. So extremely happy that Kevin O'Connell is coming back as our forever coach, and he deserves everything that was paid to him, honestly. I saw a tweet that I hope he got $1 more than Ben Johnson. I felt that one. He deserves more as a first-time head coach. Ben Johnson, I mean, we'll talk about that. This is going to be another segment in this show. But what I want to talk about, one of the things that he needs to get better at as a coach is the run game. And we've talked about this. Now, my beliefs on this is that it's more about the Jimmies and Joes in regards to our run game. I think the interior offensive line has been weak since Kevin O'Connell's gotten here. And I mean, let's be realistic, since 2009, probably, right? But I personally believe,
well, 2012-ish with the,
right,
13, we were pretty good back then.
I personally believe that if you give him 3 beefy, I don't even say solid, but just beefy guys in the middle, that his run scheme will work and will get much closer to top 10 in the league. But I'll let him prove me wrong on that. I just say, let's get the guys in there to give him a chance, right? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's definitely a personnel thing with us. I think we improved a lot, and that was because of coaching, and not his coaching, but the people he brought in. I forgot to bring comments up, but yeah, there's lot to do with the coaching that we got as far as we do. Giving us more talent would put us over the top, make that huge jump, make it more flexibility. The biggest improvement would be in the red zone and short yardage. And that's why I was so big on Derrick Henry. I think he can make up for some of that and carry some people and fall forward when we're just with, Madison last year and Aaron Jones this year, we just hit a wall and can't fall forward. And you saw Aaron Jones, he had to do a little, like a water bug routine in the backfield to get forward, to get yardage forward like this last game. And I just want some guy that can just hit the hole and just move the pile. And having the offensive line will help that for sure, make way.
My rebuttal to what you just said was, what hole? It's been a while since we've seen some massive holes, right? Like, we've watched some Packer games this year, some Eagle games this year where that running back isn't getting touched for 10 yards down the field. How many times have we really seen that this year? There's been a few toss plays. Aaron Jones has a nice lane and, he pops some, or that really nice cutback that Cam Akers had against the Lions for 50 some yards when we couldn't finish in the red zone. Not salty at all about that, but whatever. But it'd be nice to have an offensive line that could open up some holes like that. And I understood the move going the Dalton Risner at right guard this year because Ed Ingram, that experiment just failed, to be honest. He was losing too quickly over and over. Year 3, wasn't learning, still lunging, playing out of balance, couldn't handle stunts. His time it's done. He's going to get cut this offseason, I think. But enough's enough, man. Time to fix the interior offensive line. And that's another segment we're going to talk about.
Now, it's keeping this coaching staff together as long as we have, and hopefully a little bit longer would go a long way. I know with the Lions, it looks like they're going to lose their D coordinator too to the Jets. You think that's?
I think that's likely what's going to happen. I saw a tweet saying that he's the favorite. An offer was extended to him. He's currently contemplating the staff that he would bring to the Jets, but he's also mulling over the Saints job as well. I think Dave froze there. So we'll talk, staying on the Vikings coaching staff. It looks more likely that Brian Flores is going to return. I don't believe that he's in line right now as things stand for the Raiders job, and the Jags have moved on to their second line of interviews. So I mean, that's great for the Vikings. I think that Brian Flores is the brain power that makes this defense go, and they have a ton of cap space to bring in more free agents this offseason to give him more weapons, hopefully some corners who can play more man-to-man coverage. I think that's really important. Definitely an interior defensive lineman who can create pressure so they don't have to blitz the linebackers over and over, which puts them in really tough situations where Van Ginkel's covering Gibbs out of the backfield, and we don't ever want to see that shit again. So, I mean, that is just crucial that Brian Flores looks like he's coming back. What's up, Dave? Welcome back.
I don't know what the fuck happened, man.
You froze on us
It
for a
just
while.
Went blank. Just
Yep.
absolutely went blank. Yeah, we're good. I'm back. I
So
don't even remember what I was saying. I was like, what the hell just happened?
We're talking about Brian Flores likely coming back and how big that is for our defense, especially going into this offseason with all this cap space available, where I think that they can go target some more weapons for him so that he can call the game in a more however he wants to call the game. I feel like sometimes he gets stuck into calling a game that he feels like he needs to call because he doesn't trust his corners on the back end to really hold up. And so they play these deep zones back there when they play like a cover zero type look. And just, they get had with the dagger route repeatedly over and over. So we're just talking about how big it is for B-Flow to likely be coming back.
Well, and one of the things I was saying that hurt, if we be B-Flow coming back would be, like if Glenn going to, and their Lions losing both their OCs, well, they might hire more coaches from the Lions to follow them, to give them, because they can, as long as they get promoted, like you might get a guy, make him your quarterback's coach and make this guy your OC. I mean, Lions might get just gutted with coaching their, to follow them on that path, or they may think, hey, or unless Campbell promotes them within. Now that's the way to keep them. But do you have a guy that can replace a Johnson or Glenn? Glenn kind of worked magic, and it might be another coach that we got, or like just like we got Daniel Jones more money, we might got Glenn a head coaching job the way he played, his defense played against us. So this might be like a catch-22 for the Jets. We made Glenn look good because they didn't look good this last game.
Yeah, I agree. No, I think they are going to get gutted. I saw a tweet earlier, too, that their defensive line coach was in the running for a defensive coordinator job somewhere. And like you were saying, Aaron Glenn would take one of his coordinators with him. So that coaching staff is going to have a major overhaul, and we are really going to find out how good of a coach Dan Campbell is, right? Because he's going to have a lot more responsibility falling on his shoulders now.
Now, I haven't said like he guaranteed to be a Marvin Lewis situation, but where he lost his OC in DC, got fired 2 years later, but we found out that he needed good coordinators. Dan Campbell, I felt needed good coordinators, but we'll see. I mean, it's not guaranteed. He might get the most out of his coaches. We'll find out. But I think he's a coach that definitely has to have good people underneath him. At least with KOC, we know that we're good with offense, for sure, and we just got to get that defense. Flores coming back, I feel like his defense will peak now. It's been building up. Now it can peak, and we can really show what we have. And just getting a whole free agent class in, maybe a couple pieces out of the draft, that defense could just be on fire. And as long as Harrison Smith comes back for one more year, a little nostalgia there, I think he'll have a quarterback in the backfield for him.
I think he could. If Brian Flores is staying, I think that we do see one more year of Harrison Smith. That's where my gut is right now. That's what I think.
I want one more year.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like if he retires this year, it's been fun. I'm going to miss him. It's my favorite Viking player that we've had in a long time, right next to Jared Allen. I just love those guys. So if he hung it up, hell of a career, Hall of Famer. But if he comes back for one more year, that just, like you said, like all the nostalgia, I'll take one more, please. You might have froze again. Poor Dave, his internet connection is struggling tonight. So let's move on to my next segment, which is called Fuck the Lions. All right. That was just glorious. You guys rooting with me for the Commanders the other night. The Lions were 10-point favorites in the divisional round. The Commanders just go in there and just smack them in the mouth, man. Just really the entire game did whatever they wanted to on offense. Jaden Daniels looked amazing, just from a mobility standpoint, accuracy standpoint. He just in control. He wasn't affected by the crowd at all. And the Commanders, credit to Cliff Kingsbury, he had them rocking the no huddle a lot of the season, which really helped them for a situation like this in a raucous environment that's very loud. They had a lot of hand signals down. They were used to working in the no huddle. So that Detroit crowd really couldn't get into it and stay into it the way that offense was rolling. So huge credit to the Commanders. They made some stops. They forced some turnovers. They absolutely rocked Jared Goff on that pick six, which may or may not have should have been a penalty. They didn't call it, but that affected Jared Goff for the rest of the game. He did not look great after that. So, I mean, the Commanders are a team going forward that is dangerous in the NFC. With Jaden Daniels, they have a ton of cap space, just a really fun team. And on the flip side, the Lions, in my opinion, are in trouble. I think they blew their opportunity to win a Super Bowl. So the Lions were in a great cap situation for this year and going into next year. So this offseason, the Lions have a lot of cap space. But the next offseason after that, and then the next year, they are in cap hell. So their contracts are going to start catching up with the Lions. So this was really their year. And then next year was kind of the last year to go all in and win that Super Bowl. And it's going to be tough on them. Now, I think that the Lions will still make the playoffs next year because that's a lot of talent on that team, unless I'm wrong. And like the whole coordinator situation just absolutely tanks them and injuries find a way to get them. And that offense takes a huge step back. But either way, it's going to be damn near impossible for the Lions to go and make it to a Super Bowl paying Jared Goff that type of money with the cap constraints that are going to start pinching them as soon as next year. So it's a really bad time for the Lions to A, blow their opportunity this year as Super Bowl favorites, and B, lose both of their coordinators going into next year where they still have the cap flexibility to be a very strong team, but we'll see how the coaching affects that team. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I think it's going to have a negative effect. The question is how much. Dave, welcome back. You having some internet issues tonight?
No, I'm having a dog issue. Turns out my dog literally moved my power strip and unplugged my computer.
Oh, got it. Okay.
The last time he hit the button, this time he actually, I don't know. I got rid of him. He's out.
Yeah,
my wife's back from Panama, so she's taking care of him right now.
We just entered into the second segment of the show, which was called "Fuck the Lions." So I was talking about how that I really think that they messed up and missed their Super Bowl window here. I mean, they're going to be good still, but it's going to be much harder for them to win a Super Bowl with the way that their contracts are set up going forward.
Yeah, I said that too. I think Twitter. I think it was Purple Daily. Phil Mackey put out they missed their window, and I think I retweeted or something. I don't know. And I had a guy rolling up his window.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, so it doesn't mean that they're going to be bad or they're going to miss the playoffs. I just don't think that they're going to be able to go all the way and win a Super Bowl, because part of me believes that in order to do that, A, you need to have a really good quarterback who can overcome everything and, win it basically by himself, make plays out of structure. That's not Jared Goff, right? That team has been so damn good because of the rookie contracts that they've had, because of the free agent pieces that they've brought in. But all of those rookie studs that they hit on, they're about to get paid. And Jared Goff's cap hits are about to take a huge step forward as soon as next year. So they got a lot of money to spend this offseason, and they can add some pieces and they can get better. But it's going to start pinching them, and it's going to be tough.
Yeah, they would have been real tough if they still had their coordinators on next year. I think they would have been just more dominant. Just because the health, it's tough. I don't think they would have another bad year of health issues in a row like that. I mean, that was pretty difficult. So they would have just improved. And then they've been hitting on draft classes, but as you said, those guys are going to have to get paid pretty soon. So they may still be really competitive. Who knows? I even put out 7-10 because they're losing both their OC and DC, but and then they also have to play a number one schedule. But they could still be as good as they are. They just got to get the right coaches in there. Um, it was a really good match. You have a really structured offense, like in a real structured quarterback that can dagger you on the blitz, and it was a good matchup. But unlike that, now he's going to a quarterback that plays hero ball. Their OC Johnson. He goes to a Bears team with a quarterback that all he knows is hero ball. How do you feel like that's a fit?
Yeah. I mean, that brings us perfectly into our next segment, which is the Ben Johnson for the Bears hire. And how do I feel like that's a fit? So let's talk about it first from a broad point of view for the Chicago Bears. They drafted Caleb Williams last year, number 1 overall. In terms of his rookie season, he definitely had moments where you looked at him and you're like, that's why he's the number 1 overall pick, right? He's got talent with his arm. He's got escapability talent, and he can make throws that no other quarterback in this draft class, or I would say just a few quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, can probably make in the league. He's got that type of arm, that type of flexibility, that kind of throw power. But he had a lot of moments that were really bad. In terms of sack avoidance, he was terrible. He was really, really bad. Pressures led to sacks with him. He held the football way too long. He needed to play better in structure. 1, 2, 3, get the ball out, know where your escape routes are, know where your hot route is. And that part of that stuff is just being a rookie quarterback. And then the other part of that is I wonder how bad his coaching really was and just coaching him up and giving him those options. It didn't seem to me like he had a lot of answers to the test with motion before the snap, knowing if it's zone or man, things that Kevin O'Connell's very good at with helping the quarterback. So I want to give Caleb Williams some benefit of the doubt here for why he had so many lows. I mean, the first time he played the Vikings, he looked great in Chicago. And the second time he played us in Minnesota, he looked terrible, right? So he had ups and downs. He didn't throw a lot of interceptions, but I also feel like he wasn't taking many risks down the field. And if you looked at his downfield throwing stats, it was pretty terrible with his accuracy numbers. So with all that said, do I think that Ben Johnson is a good fit for Caleb? I don't know. I don't know what to say because Caleb didn't really play in structure well in college. He didn't play well in structure in year 1 in the NFL. Does that mean that he can't learn to do it? No, absolutely not. And if there's one guy to teach him how to do it, to be a good NFL quarterback, it's Ben Johnson, right? Jared Goff is the best quarterback in the NFL when it comes to playing on time. 1, 2, 3, balls out. Matthew Stafford's pretty damn good at it too, as we saw. And those are the 2 quarterbacks that hurt us this year. So if Ben Johnson is able to get Caleb Williams to be good at the quick game and to stop taking as many sacks, then yes, Ben Johnson is a very good match for the Chicago Bears. If he fails and Caleb just is who he is and he's not able to coach that out of him and Caleb just wants to, play backyard football the entire time, it's not going to be a good marriage. So I don't know what way that's going to go, but I can tell you this from the Bears organization level, for the 24 people that they interviewed or whoever it was, the last one being Eddie George, the running back, this was the guy who made the most sense for them, in my opinion, right? Because me and you are biased as Vikings fans. We have Kevin O'Connell. He's a fantastic coach. He's an offensive coordinator. He runs the show. I felt like the Bears needed a guy like that. They needed their Matt LaFleur. They needed their Kevin O'Connell to come in, run the offense, be the guy in Caleb's ear, and groom that quarterback, right? And that's what they did. So in terms of the ceiling of this hire, them hiring Ben Johnson, I applaud the Chicago Bears. I think they made the right hire. I don't know that it's going to work. That's where you have to cross your fingers, right? You look at the 2022 class of coaches who were hired between Kevin O'Connell and the coach Mike McDaniel in Miami. Those are the only 2 that survived their contracts, right?
And it's funny you bring that up because that was in my head is Johnson going to be a McDaniel, where it doesn't seem like you can get it all together at one time. It doesn't seem like he can get his team to play complementary football. Um, but again, elite offensive mind, especially if your quarterback's healthy, and that's kind of held back McDaniel. So that he's gonna we'll find out soon enough. We'll find out soon enough. He'll have a whole off season to fine tune his now second year quarterback. So I think he's in a good situation. Bears are a good situation. Probably the best one out there, I would think, as far as talent wise, for a new coach. I mean, Dallas is probably pretty good, fit too. But I thought why not go to Dallas? Maybe, and Jerry Jones hangs on to coaches. I mean, it's not like he just gives one and done coaches. So that would have been a pretty decent fit.
Jerry
But
Jones runs the show, though, and I
Yeah.
don't know if Ben Johnson really wanted to be a part of that.
True.
That's just speculation.
True, you're right. It is kind of a clown show sometimes when it comes to, and he's going to pick the players, and he's going to have the last say. And
I
yeah,
wouldn't
so
be
get it.
surprised with how sought after Ben Johnson was and how much the Bears reportedly paid him as a first-time head coach, $13 million per year, which
Oh,
is
Jesus.
way
I
more
didn't even
than
know
what
that.
usual first-time head coaches make, anywhere from $5 to $8 million a year typically. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some caveats in his contract about power, such as power over the 53. It does seem to me that Ryan Poles is on a quote unquote short leash, even though he may get extended just for like face value of getting extended. I think that, if he has a down draft, he's on a short leash, he's probably gone. I was kind of surprised they didn't fire him actually going into this process. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the Ben Johnson hire for the Chicago Bears, I think it was the right hire for them. I think it has the highest chance of turning Caleb Williams into a winner, into what he's supposed to be. With that said, it's not guaranteed. I've already seen tweets out there today ranking the NFC North head coaches with, I've seen Dan Campbell 1, Ben Johnson 2, Kevin O'Connell 3, Matt LaFleur 4, like just hilarious stuff like that. Like positives for Ben Johnson, he did call plays, so he's consistent and he's had experience as a play caller, so that's nice going into there. But being a head coach and managing everyone on the 90-man roster when camp starts, setting your schedules for practice and for meetings and everything like that, dealing with everyone behind the scenes, the owners, the GM, whatever the hell position Kevin Warren has, and then just dealing with people in the building who have other roles, scouts and whatnot. There is so much that goes into being a head coach, more than just, oh, good play caller from Detroit, come over here and call plays for us and groom this quarterback. There is so much that goes into the job that you need to have a special personality for it, and you need to be a leader of men. And I do think you need to be a little bit lucky too. I mean, I think that's just the case. You need to be a little bit lucky that things go your way sometimes. And we got very, very lucky with Kevin O'Connell being the level of coach that he is. And the Bears are hoping that Ben Johnson is going to be their Kevin O'Connell and not just the next hot offensive coordinator who flames out.
Yeah, it is a good group though, right? It's a pretty top to bottom talent, Rich. They're all kind of different in what they do. I mean, LaFleur and Connell probably pretty similar. I don't. Well, the book will still be out on Johnson if he's like a CEO type guy like you're talking about, and Dan Campbell, is like, let's just get the shit done. That's kind of coach you want to run through a wall for. So there's a lot of different different vibes with the coaches, but it's definitely a good group. I wouldn't put KOC third, but now there was a lot to say that, hey, KOC never called plays, right? He never called plays. That was a big deal. He kind of threw that out the window. But when I was just started my channel. In fact, I wasn't even on YouTube yet when I was just doing a podcast and just sound. And I was talking about Kevin O'Connell and the fact that I thought he was responsible for that, like developing the game plan for that week. Like that, he was actually, so I wasn't too worried. about him coming in and not having called plays before. Now you don't have to worry about that about Johnson because he's called them now. Now you got to worry about, is he a leader of men? Is he a CEO of the company? I think that's a bigger deal. But KOC obviously could have the same issues, but he's already 2 years late, 3 years later, he's proved that he's all encompassing. He can do it all except the run game, which we'll fix.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Kevin O'Connell, I hope that this extension paid him handsomely, man, because he deserves it. I'd say he's a top 6 coach right now in this league. And he learns. It seems like he's learning year after year, getting better at his mistakes. I would just really like to see the Vikings provide him with some interior offensive linemen to see, okay, can this guy actually call a run scheme, or is that an issue? Because right now I put it more on personnel than I would on O'Connell. And then can he adjust just a little bit better when things are not going your way in an offense? Like we saw the last 2 weeks, the pressure's getting to you. He said that there was some quick passing game options there, and he kind of put the blame on Sam Darnold. If you were reading between the lines, like we had it there, he's got to throw the football, make decisions.
I think it passes the eye test in that last game because I did look for hot routes or where he could have dumped the ball off, and it was there.
Yeah. So it's tough, man.
Mike Zimmer had more playoff wins. He also had twice as many seasons. So
yes, sir.
He has 2 playoff wins.
I get it. Like we're frustrated that we're 0-2 in games in the playoffs where the Vikings were favored in both of them. I get it. It sucks. But I'm also going to look at his win-loss, which is what, 34-7. I don't even know. He's won a shit ton of games. He won 13 games the first year he's coaching, 7 the second year, and 14 the third year. Do the math. I mean, he's winning a lot of ball games.
Yeah, I didn't even know it got up, and I thought like $10 million was reserved for like the Super Bowl champion coaches, but Johnson to get $13 million, and they had to overpay him, right?
I would guess KOC makes like 13 to 14 with his extension. That's just what my gut says.
You kind of, I think if your agents didn't, then you got to fire your agent because he's got to know what the market is.
Should we talk about some free agent prospects here?
Yeah, you have a specific one. You either want to scrap the team, or unless you don't get him, it sounds like. So it's
pretty much, man. I want to talk about Trey Smith tonight, guys. He is my free agent of the week here that I think the Vikings need to go after him this offseason. I was going after it a little bit this week with Purple Persuasion, and because he was of the line of thinking that it just doesn't follow the track record of Kwesi. He doesn't think that realistically he's a guy the Vikings will ultimately go get. I differed, and I threw my thoughts out there that we've never seen the Vikings with this much cap space before, where they had the ability to go reset the guard market. Both the GM and our head coach immediately after the loss said, we need to fix the interior offensive line, point blank. That tells me they're going to go spend money on it, right? And if you're going to go spend money on it, let's go buy the best guy out there, and that's Trey Smith. You can see here Trey Smith was a 6th round draft selection with the 42nd overall pick by the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a massive human being. It's 6'6", 330 pounds is what he's listed at today. He's young. He's 25 years old. He's a dominant top 10 interior offensive lineman in the NFL, protecting Patrick Mahomes as his right guard. And I have an excerpt here that I want to read. It says, the Chiefs would love to re-sign Trey Smith, but we know that's going to be tough, says Jeremy Fowler. In fact, there's an expectation that Smith could become the highest paid guard in the NFL. The top of the market currently sits at $21.5 million per year, and the Chiefs are bracing for life without him because of that price. He's a top 10 interior offensive lineman in the league, and the Panthers gave Robert Hunt $100 million in free agency back in March, and Smith had to take a note of that. It should come to no surprise that given the recent explosion of the guard market, Smith figures to cash in when March rolls around. Spotrac lists his market value at $18.6 million per year, which would rank right alongside of Samuel Cosme, who just tore his ACL for the Commanders, and Zach Martin on top of the leaderboard. But we think he's going to get more than that. So, Dave, would you pay him $22 million a year to be your starting right guard next year?
A lot of money. I mean, when I went back and I didn't spend a whole lot of time, but I did spend a few minutes looking at him. $22 million for an interior guard. Gosh, I think if it would be worth it, because I think it would solidify the offensive line quite a bit. But we definitely need at least 2 guys and a D tackle. And who knows, a corner.
Yeah.
We're not going to get 4 elite guys, right? We have to conserve a little bit, and we did last year with the D tackle. We just wouldn't pull the trigger on a guy that ended up getting $27 million. So I'm still kind of debating on the resources available to us. Would it hurt us? I mean, we want to get that D tackle. I felt like the offensive line is more important. So if it meant solidifying the O-line, I think it'd be definitely worth it. I think you can get maybe a center that's a little cheaper. I don't think you're gonna have to pay $22 million to, and then get a guy to fill in at the other guard position and hopefully be good enough. I don't think we can fill all 3 positions if we're going to put $22 million to one guy. But I did look at him. The one thing I liked about him was his personality. Mic'd up. He looked like he loved football and was going after it. Team guy. He really likes the Chiefs, I think. I think he would want to stay if he could, but I don't think they're going to be able, they're going to have problems because they really kind of have to upgrade other places. And I don't think $22 million at the guard position is going to improve their team or is going to help them as much as filling in other positions. But he was legit. He's hard to move. He pancakes people. He puts them to the ground. He's a finisher. We don't have that. So we have that at left tackle. It's the only spot we have that. It would help out a lot if we had that at an interior position. Yeah,
this, to me, he's the guy to target this year, even though it would be resetting the guard market. Because when you look at the other options available, there's a bunch of older guys like 33, 34, 35 years old. Like Kevin Zeitler for the Lions is 35, and he's interested in playing one more year. But I'm more interested in a guy like this who can come in and be your guy for the next 5 years, tie it to the contract of J.J. McCarthy to protect him. You look at your offensive line with this guy and Brian O'Neill on the right side, you don't have to worry about the right side. Now you got Christian Darrisaw blocking your blind side. You don't have to worry about that either. So now you really just got to figure out your center and left guard. And we saw Blake Brandel actually played really well when Christian Darrisaw was next to him. It wasn't until Cam Robinson started playing where Blake Brandel just started looking terrible because they couldn't figure out stunts and passed that off, and he was getting beat inside all the time. But in my opinion, point blank, Garrett Bradbury has got to go. There was a Purple for the Win tweet today that I retweeted where it said he gave up, it was like 30-something pressures and so many sacks. It's not going to cut it. He's got to go. It happens year after year. He doesn't have enough weight. He's not a big guy. And people will just doesn't have an anchor. People will put a giant nose guard on him and bull rush him into oblivion. And there's nothing you can do to help that. And it's going to cause interior pressure. You can't deal with it anymore. He's got to go.
Now, how many positions are we going to set the market for? I mean, we had the left tackle. The left tackle we didn't really set the market, I don't think. But tight end we did, and receiver we did. Right guard, are we? So how many positions can we afford to set the market for? But it would make sense. You did get a good point. And I love me some Blake Brandel. When before the season and before the previous season, and I really banged the drum for him. But you made a good point that his play did drop off because Darrisaw wasn't there anymore. That's a real good point. And again, our left tackle did not play well this last couple of games, and it showed, and I think it infected into Brandel's play too. And you know what? And I don't think our center has played bad, right? I just to take that next step, we need somebody that has an anchor that we don't have to worry about us our whole offensive middle line collapsing because they put a big guy in the middle against us and we had to double team or we couldn't figure out stunts or whatever. So yeah, I would be okay with 22 million, I guess, for an offensive guard as long 5 years. We can afford it right now. The market will just get more and more, and the cap room will increase, and the cap space will increase, and it won't look as bad 2-3 years from now. But it would be nice to have a guy for 5 years, and not mix and match old dudes to come in and play a couple more or a year for us. I hate this, and we're doing that on defense right now. But it would be nice to at least on the offensive side have players there for play together for 3 more years together. Because Brandel's on a longer contract. He got like 2 years left, doesn't he?
Yeah, I believe he signed a 3-year deal. Very doable, easy contract. And even if he's not our starter next year, I think he's your swing guy. Can play pretty much any
I
position.
liked him at right guard, honestly. I thought they should have flipped.
Yeah. Ronald Crosby says he wants to start JJ McCarthy next season. We're both with you, Ron. Dave and I are aligned with that we would like to use this cap space on roster to build up the roster around JJ McCarthy. And if he's not quite ready, per Kevin O'Connell's assessment, if he's not ready to start week 1, then have a guy like Daniel Jones or roll with Mullins for a few weeks until JJ McCarthy's ready. That's fine with me, right? Because JJ McCarthy is the future. And even if we take, and this is my opinion, even if we take a small step back next year, it's about 2027 in my mind, right? Like that's the Super Bowl target. That's when this team's all going to come together, and it's going to be a very strong team if JJ McCarthy is ready to rock and roll.
So what do you think of this? Honestly, before the season was, everybody who knew me or saw me on Twitter knew I was wanting JJ McCarthy to start the season. However, when he went down, I said something like, I don't think we lost any games by losing him, but what I wanted him to start is to have that under his belt, because I thought next year would start with the free agency. We'd have a better team around him. Everything would, I want him to have experience. That didn't happen, right? So this year he's coming in. Hopefully he's got a full off season where he'll be able to participate, and I think he will. Preseason, get some. You know what? Should we if he's going to be the starter, we should play him like we did Sam Darnold? Not at all. Or Kirk Cousins? Not at all. Maybe a couple drives, not a whole game or half a game, and just make sure he's healthy for the season. Now, my question would be, do you think he can pull off a Jaden Daniels type season? Do you think he's got I had Jaden Daniels heads over everybody in that draft class. But there's a lot of game. They're a little different players, but I think Jaden Daniels is more elite at running, and he's more elite. Probably he's got a really people undersold his deep ball. When I looked at his college tape, I was like, this guy can make every throw. I think just based on what I saw in preseason with McCarthy, he worked on his mechanics. Now I feel like McCarthy can make every throw, and he throws with anticipation. He sees windows. When you go back and look at that preseason game, he steps up and sees a window, throws it on time. Sam Darnold was throwing it behind people. I felt Sam Darnold didn't have anticipation, and that's what was going to hold him back. That's what I was saying. Nick Mullins, I felt, has anticipation. But again, the weaker arm is going to lose out to me. But yeah, JJ McCarthy, do you feel like he could pull off JJ McCarthy could pull off a Jaden Daniels type season?
I guess I have to ask a couple of clarifying questions to that, because he's not going to have anywhere close to the rushing yards that Jaden Daniels has. There's two different players. Success, sure. I would say that I would expect him more so to look more like what Bo Nix showed us this year, which was the ability to run an offense, have good moments, bad moments, and win a lot of games. as a rookie and throw quite a bit of touchdowns as a rookie, which Bo Nix was able to do. In terms of Jaden Daniels, it's just hard. Like, do I expect that JJ McCarthy takes them to the NFC Championship game in his first year starting? No, because that's never really happened before. And I think Jaden Daniels is just that damn special. So no, I don't. Like, I'm not going to put him on that pedestal, but can he be what Bo Nix was this year? Absolutely. I think so. I mean, especially if you give him a running game to help him out a little bit. Yeah, I think that JJ McCarthy can be successful in year one starting as a quarterback and win 10 games, get you into the playoffs, and who knows from there.
Yeah, I mean, the success, I do feel like he's got a higher ceiling than Bo Nix has got, and I think you probably agree with that.
Yeah.
I
But
think
credit to Bo Nix, because I thought he was going to be ass. And he's not. He's not ass. He proved that to us this year. He's not terrible.
I was higher on Bo Nix than most.
Yeah.
And I had Thor on my show, and he wasn't too happy with Bo Nix.
And
I think
Tyler Forno, too.
Tyler, I had him on the show talking about him, too, and he said, fourth round or
right.
talent or whatever.
So both of them form a lot of my draft opinions, so that's why I wasn't super high on Nix. But they proved us wrong, man.
Yeah, I just looked at the production of Bo Nix, and I looked at more than just the all the short throws. I saw bigger throws that he did, spotty. Kind of like if you look at JJ McCarthy videos, you're not going to see a whole lot of throws, right? So you have to kind of dig deep to find the throws that Bo Nix had, but he had a lot more throws, right? He threw for 4,700 yards or whatever in college. I forget how much. It was a lot. It was like 4,000. So there's a lot. He had a lot of throws, but not as many down the field. But I felt like he was elite at throwing the slant pass with Bo Nix, and I feel like like I said, I feel like the anticipation's there that JJ McCarthy could do that. He could throw it deep. He's got the arm. He throws the anticipation. He saw that with Tristan Jackson in the preseason game. The big thing and I felt like he was a cheat code when it comes to scrambling. But the thing that impressed me the most was the preseason game and feeling that adversity, the pick, and then the almost fumble, and to throw touchdowns right after that. That's what sets him apart. I feel like he could have a better season than Bo Nix in his first year. Because there's a couple games that the Denver couldn't score. They couldn't get down the field. I feel like you can open up the offense a little more with a JJ McCarthy than you could with a Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix does still have limitations. I think he can build on it. And I think they did the right thing and not putting too much on his plate. I think JJ McCarthy could have a big plate. I think the coach involved has more faith in him. And he does have a year under his belt, even though it wasn't a whole lot of experience.
Yeah, I'm looking at I pulled up my sleeper app and I'm looking at Bo Nix and just the touchdowns that he was able to put up this year. So through the first 3 weeks, he did not throw a touchdown. And I remember that was kind of a meme. Yeah. And then finally in week 4, he threw 1, and then he threw 2, 2, 0.
He had one with 4, if I remember right.
3, 0, 2, 4, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, 4. So he ended the season, the last 4 weeks of the season, throwing 3, 2, 3, 4 touchdowns. That's a lot of touchdowns for a rookie quarterback. So typically rookies don't throw that many touchdowns. So he did show me something, and he had a pretty good fantasy football season because he did have some rushing ability as well. Some of his rushing yards this season, like 35, 25, 47, 61, 75, 36, 47. Like, that helps, when you have a quarterback who can extend plays and get you those dirty first downs here and there. And JJ McCarthy has that ability. He can move a little bit. He's not Jaden Daniels, don't get me wrong, but he can move. He's got faster foot speed than Sam Darnold does.
Yeah, I mean, he's got an elite 40 for a quarterback. He's got an elite 7-cone drill for like a short area quickness. It's better than Mahomes. Mahomes has the same 40 time as Peyton Manning. It's not like Peyton Manning or Mahomes is fast. he just knows, he just has that sixth sense about him. And that was a sixth sense I kind of compared JJ McCarthy has when I see him in the pocket in college. He just seemed to have that awareness to him. But then you throw in the 4.5 or 4.6 speed that he has. I think it's 4.5. I'm not mistaken. I just in that short area quickness he has. Uh, he's not big. He's not big and strong, but neither is Mahomes. Right? He's got that dad bod, but JJ McCarthy could easily put up some 300-400 yards rushing for us and scrambling, and then have rushing touchdowns for us. And he's definitely got the arm, the anticipation to throw, close to 30 touchdowns in a first season. I think it really does. It really does depend on our success. Is will he be able to play action and have that run game to feed off of that he had at Michigan? I think that would really kind of complement him. And I do think I thought Sam Darnold was pretty good at play action, but we didn't do it enough. I think, and you kind of go away from it because your run game's not as good. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't as good as it should be. And if you add that, that to our offense, he's just going to be so much better. And and that's what Bo Nix needed too. So
Yeah. One thing I do disagree with when I hear people say this is that his first year was a wasted year. I do not believe that. JJ McCarthy was meeting with Kevin O'Connell an hour every day. He was looking at GoPro footage from Sam Darnold in practice and in games. JJ McCarthy has been active with virtual reality technology, which Jaden Daniels has been doing since his time at LSU. And JJ McCarthy had a year to learn the entire offense, go through weekly game planning meetings. He's going to know this offense inside and out going into the summer, and that's going to allow him to step in day one, be QB1, and run the offense and go through install. And that's huge for him. That is completely different from coming in as a rookie, trying to cram all this information and learn an offense your first year. So he is a huge step forward coming into this year with the knowledge of this system. And now it's just physical stuff. Can he put back, can he get some weight back on him, right? Can he get this knee loosened up and feeling good and get his footwork down in the OTAs getting ready for training camp? And that stuff's easy to do for these guys. So I'm extremely excited about JJ McCarthy going into this offseason. Hoping for a tag and trade on Sam Darnold, get us a second round pick. That would be fantastic.
So before the draft, people were down on Jaden Daniels because he didn't do very much at Arizona State. And we went to LSU and he succeeded. The biggest thing I found out was, and I would put that on my YouTube channel, was that he was doing VR training, and I gave a lot to his head coach. He used to be Notre Dame's head coach, and I'm a Notre Dame fan. That he developed him. He got him in that VR training. He really relied on that, and I think it developed him quite a bit. And I felt like he changed, and I pointed to that. It's kind of neat that they're back talking about it again. But that was one of my evaluations, was the beginning before the draft, is that that was a big step, and they talked about how he had put it on 1.5, and I guess he's putting it at 1.75 now speed, and just the processing is getting better and better. I love that, to find out that JJ McCarthy was doing that, because I know how much it impacted Jaden Daniels in LSU and made him and he took that next step with LSU. I thought it was a big part of it. It's great that he's doing that. I think it's going to train you. It's going to train you reading offenses or reading defenses, and it just super. It's a great tool, and I'm so glad that that is something that they are doing. And and we always were kind of behind the times under Spielman, and we were always like second to the party when it came to analytics, and he adopted it. And then I'm glad that we're jumped on it right away, because I think they showed with Jaden Daniels is that that's the way of the future. When he got success, became the pick that he was, and the success that he was, it just makes sense to check this out. And I feel like they changed that changed what a quarterback is about and his training regiment. And maybe Sam Darnold should do more of it. But and you mentioned tag and trading. Where do you put the percentage of that being a possibility?
Oh, that's a great question. And to be honest with you, I don't know. I'm just guessing.
I thought of it a lot bigger before the game.
Okay, so we'll talk about that. To me, it's the smartest thing for the Vikings to do from an asset management standpoint, because if he just leaves and signs somewhere else, yes, he does go towards the draft pick compensation formula, but you got to figure the Vikings are going to spend a shit ton of cash this offseason, which is going to it's going to offset it. So I don't really think you're going to get much for him anyways at all. So the smart thing to do is to tag and trade. Now, to answer your question as to did the last 2 games of him looking completely lost tank his market, I think the answer is no, because he won 14 games. He objectively played like a top 10 quarterback for much of the season. And the biggest factor is there's going to be about 5 teams who need a starting caliber quarterback, period. And they don't have one, right? It's going to be what? I mean, we could list them off, but there's 2 quarterbacks in the draft who are worth drafting, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, okay? Outside of those teams, so we're talking about the Titans probably taking one and the Browns taking another. I forget who picks number 2. I think it's the Browns. They may take one, maybe the Giants take one. But that said, there's going to be 5 teams. The Raiders make a lot of sense. Pittsburgh is a potential. So you're looking at teams who are picking later in the draft who don't have a chance of adding a quarterback, who also have cap space, who make good options for trading for Sam Darnold. So the question is, do you think that these 5 teams who need a quarterback, that there's going to be a strong enough market to trade Sam Darnold on that $40 million cap hit to one of these teams? And I think the answer is yes, because teams are desperate and they do dumb shit for quarterbacks, right? You can't go into the season with nobody. So yes, I do think it's a potential. If you ask me what I think the chances of that happening are, I'd say 50%, I guess. I don't know, maybe greater than 50%. But if I had to rank it, make a pie chart for you, let me say 50% tag and trade, 10% extend Sam Darnold for short-term extension, like 2-year extension or something like that, 2 to 3 year extension. And then that leaves me with 40% let him walk.
Yeah, for me, it would be like, and I always like to talk about what I think would happen, right? What the Kwesi would be thinking. And he says hope is not a plan. And hoping to trade him is not a plan. I feel it has to be something that's agreed upon before it happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely does. And that means, am I thinking like, and I can see the 50% because there will be teams that need a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Will it be a second rounder? I don't think so. I think
maybe a third.
I think it would probably be, what's that?
Maybe a third. I mean, Matt Castle went once upon a time for a second round pick.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks are valuable, man. Who's the quarterback?
I think there's more good ones now than there were back when Matt Castle.
Who was the bad quarterback that the Cardinals picked before Kyler Murray, the year before? His name's escaping me. But
from UCLA.
Was it Drew something? Yes. They drafted
him on our team for practice squad.
The Cardinals drafted a quarterback the year before Kyler Murray. They moved on from him the year after and traded him for a second round pick.
Yeah.
Do it for a second. And then he flamed out where they traded him to, which was, I think, the Panthers, who got him for a second.
Someone's
can't remember his name. I think it was Drew something. Yeah, so I think the second round pick is probably the ceiling of what you get for Sam Darnold, but realistically, you probably get a third round pick, I think, for him. Again, the whole idea there is that there's a market for him. And I think the Raiders make a lot of sense.
It bothers me now. Someone beat me to it yet. Damn it. I know you're
Josh Rosen
on our team.
Daniel got it. Good job, Josh. You
Josh
are
Rosen. Sorry. God dang it.
fan of the episode.
Yeah, he was a Viking.
Josh Rosen.
I hate my memory. I hate all the concussions I had.
I'm much better when I'm not on the spot with that kind of stuff. Did you get a chance to compile our end of season pick'ems?
I didn't compile
Pick
it,
sixes.
but you won by one. I know.
I won by 1.
Yeah.
Go me.
Show you?
I said go me.
Oh,
Hooray.
go you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won by 1 because I forget. I think
It was a close match, man. Good picks.
chose 3 different ones,
Mm-hmm.
and I won 1 and he won 2 of them.
Gotcha. All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to wrap up our episode. Anything else you wanted to cover before we get out for the night?
We'll talk a lot more about free agents, and I asked Skoldoc to give me a list before the show. I'll get Skoldoc to give me a list before the show. I'll do research or bring up, stuff for us to show you, and it'll just get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and comment on the video before we leave here. Some free agent names if you're interested in us breaking down some guys for next week. No, there's a defensive
go
tackle.
into the comments, put out some free agents you want us to look at. Be great, I'm glad to.
Mm-hmm.
And not in the comments here because I won't see those anymore. You got to go to the
YouTube video.
Yeah, you got to go to the
posted.
YouTube video and make the comments there.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us tonight. Great live show here. And we will catch you next Tuesday night for our next live show. And if you want to recommend some topics for us to discuss, just comment in the YouTube video.
Yep. Or Twitter.
Skol Vikes.
Skol Vikes.